Pokémon! The magical fantasy world of forcing adorable animals to battle for our amusement while we as trainers do nothing. While some animal rights groups may find the world of Pokémon to be hell on earth, for most of us these adorable elemental creatures became our companions and friends. Whether or not your butts used Gust or your penis used Harden, we all loved our Pokémon. While this incredible series was first headed by Red, our next protagonist came out of the muck with the glorious name of Ethan. Wait, guys? I thought this was a video on Gold. Oh, I see. His actual name is Ethan, but that's not as cool as Gold. Got it. Gold is the protagonist of Pokémon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, the second generation of the Pokémon games. He is an extraordinary trainer, traveling both his home Johto region and the Kanto region to collect badges and fill up his Pokédex. He travels twice the distance and wins twice the number of badges compared to Red, the greatest Pokémon trainer at the time. What makes Gold better than Red besides the obvious color choice? How did someone with 3 less years experience win twice as many badges? The world of Pokémon is filled with mysteries and hardship, so stock up on Pokéballs and don't forget your potions. Let's travel through the story you never knew. Gold begins his story much like Red, starting in his hometown where he conveniently lives next to one of the best Pokémon professors in the world. He of course gets one of the 3 starters from Professor Elm and is asked to run an errand to the next town where he meets Professor Oak and is given a Pokédex. So Gold does what any halfway decent Pokémon trainer would do and goes through all 8 gyms collecting badges, fighting Team Rocket, and foiling their plans. The usual generic Pokémon protagonist stuff. He fights his way through the Elite Four, which is a much more daunting task in the second generation games. The 4 trainers are noticeably harder than the rest of the game, and there's no rare candy cheat. After facing the Elite Four, Gold battles Lance the Dragon Master. We've seen Lance before as the last of the Elite Four in Red's campaign, but he's much harder now. After beating Lance off and becoming the champion, Gold gets inducted into the Pokémon Hall of Fame. The credits roll and you get the feels. The feels that you've already done this before? Come on, Miyamoto, I expected more from you. But we're only halfway through Gold's journey. I'm sure there's some deeper meaning here, somewhere. After Lance wipes himself off, Professor Elm allows Gold to travel to the Kanto region and face off against all the gym leaders there. Once he earns all 16 badges and beats off a new and improved Elite Four, Gold gains access to Mount Silver, where upon climbing to the top, Gold finds Red and battles him. While there is no canon outcome of the match, it is known that this is one of the toughest battles in all of Pokémon history, and each trainer leaves with the utmost respect for their rival. So let's dig a little deeper here. It seems like Gold is the connection between the player and... Wait a minute! We already did this video! It's right here! Miyamoto, you lied to me. Let me backtrack and explain. About a year ago, we made this lovely video about Red, where we concluded that we ourselves share Red's story, both within the game and our own lives. We embody Red as a character and become him, creating real bonds with our Pokémon. And here comes Gold, walking all swanky down the street, being like, yeah, I have my own story with my own thesis or whatever. No, you don't, Gold! You're exactly the same as Red, and he was there first. You're nothing more than a copycat. Now I already know what you're going to say, viewer who is currently writing a mean comment before the video is even over. Gold's story is different than Red's. He wins badges in both Johto and Kanto, 16 in all. First off, the game is officially over once you beat the Elite Four the first time. The credits roll after you beat Lance, and anyone who has ever been to a movie knows that means the show is over. However, just like in the movies where sometimes there's a little something something after the credits, Pokemon games also have something after the credits roll. In Red's case, it was catching Mewtwo. In Gold's case, you get to travel back through Kanto. But the game pre-credits is the same for both characters. Collect the 8 gym badges from your region and defeat the Elite Four, Team Rocket, and your rival. Even if Gold's Kanto wasn't just post-game content, you're just traveling back through Kanto. It's the same damn game you played as Red! But there's even deeper similarities between the characters. Gold never says anything, he has no personality, and he becomes the best Pokemon trainer in the world because you make him the best. Even that fight between Gold and Red at the end on Mount Silver is set up in the canon so that either can win. If you embody Red, Red wins. If you embody Gold, Gold wins. Nintendo couldn't let one defeat the other because at any given time, the player may be represented by either character. If Nintendo decided that Gold was definitively stronger than Red, players would no longer feel as though they embodied the original Pokémaster. In trying to make both these characters as generic and open to the player's interpretation as possible, Nintendo has unintentionally succeeded in creating a clone of Red in Gold. Or perhaps it was intentional. I'm sure there's other Nintendo games that have clones in them. Super Smash. Regardless of intent, the final result is this. 2 characters, both mutes, both master Pokemon trainers, with no victor between the two because they both represent the player. But that's just Pokemon. I'm sure Miyamoto wouldn't do this with his other franchises. Oh, why, Miyamoto, why? Remember Link, the guy who was supposed to provide a link between the game and the player? All we know about Link is that he enjoys wearing tunics and can pull them off with those boots. Other than that, he's a mute, has no real personality, and only becomes a character with depth when we as the player personify our own desires to be brave and fight evil onto the Hyrulean Hero. Besides that, Link is nothing more than an empty shell of a character. While Link may be the best example of Miyamoto using the generic protagonist shtick, there are many other Nintendo characters that also fit the mold. Mario and Samus, specifically in their earlier titles, never talked and were meant to allow the player to feel as though they were the character in the game. This experience is what really created genuine surprise in people when they found out Samus was a girl in the first Metroid game. Mario, while still being bland as hell, at least has a few catchphrases now, and is an Italian plumber. That's some good character development, Miyamoto. Other Nintendo characters like Little Mac from Punch-Out! And Agent 3 from Splatoon are also lacking personality for player immersion purposes. It's almost as if all these Nintendo characters came from the same town where literally no one talks. Ever. Little Mac goes to buy some bread from Mario, which makes no sense because he's a plumber and they use sign language to haggle over the price. This obviously doesn't work well for Little Mac since he's wearing gloves. Eventually, they settle it with a game of rock, paper, scissors. But again, Little Mac can't really change his hand beyond rock. Poor guy. While this may be a bad choice for how to run Nintendo Town, I'm not saying this is necessarily bad game design. There's plenty of other developers who also have silent protagonists to create this immersion effect between character and player. Gordon Freeman is an excellent example of a silent protagonist used for this exact purpose. Valve even went a step further and made all cutscenes first person so you're always in control of your character and never see him from another perspective. This design choice isn't inherently bad, but when used over and over again by the same company and game designer, it becomes obvious and boring. I'm talking to you, Miyamoto and Nintendo! Too many of Nintendo's characters have no personality to call their own. While this would be fine if there were only a few characters like this, it seems that the majority of Nintendo protagonists are lacking any form of depth in their personality. And the gold-red combo seems to be the worst of them all. These two characters are so similar in storyline and characteristics that it's impossible to tell which is better than the other, and their own canon storylines confirm the lack of differences between them. Hell, doing this entire video on Gold doesn't even make sense because Gold is really just Red, and Red is really just you, the player. Wait, does this make every Pokemon protagonist theory meaningless because these characters aren't really anyone but us? Nah. Well, maybe. And that's the story. You never knew. Get your shit together, Nintendo! But I can't stay mad at you, Shigeru. Not when I can relax with some sweet anime on Crunchyroll. Right now, you can go to crunchyroll.com/Treesicle and get a free 30-day trial of Crunchyroll Premium. Now I know what you're thinking. Did they just make the smoothest transition to an ad ever? Probably, but know that each one of you that tries out Crunchyroll makes a huge difference for our channel. Not to mention the unlimited amounts of kick-ass anime you get to watch. They've got Naruto, Gintama, even Rooster Teeth's Ruby, all ad-free in super awesome high definition. You can get all those shows and more. Holy balls, they have Yu-Gi-Oh! You've activated my trap card, Kaiba! Crunchyroll even gives you access to simulcasts so you can catch your favorite shows as soon as they air. Let's see Exodia try to beat that play. But seriously, we're so thankful to all of you who watch and love our videos, and we want you to know that by checking out Crunchyroll, you're helping make our hobby into our career. So please, check out crunchyroll.com/Treesicle for that 30-day trial. We love you all 300,000 of you, and see you in the next video.